Howdy. Welcome back to Dion Talk. I retired in 2022 after 12 years of investing at the age of 52. I didn't start investing until I was 40, and it took a decade. But what gave me the confidence to retire? There is a lot of things in life that people are uncertain of, and walking away from a job and thinking, I will never work again in my life is one of the ones that brings the most concern. So if you retire at retirement age, even then, at 65, 68, or whatever age you choose to do it, there's some stress involved, right? Our identity is sometimes tied up in our employment, our work family matters to us. Uh, but retiring early too, it brings a lot of stress. So where did the confidence come to do that? When it comes to investing, I use these four words. Confidence comes from competence, right? If you want to learn a new asset class, you study it and you learn the basics. When you want to learn how to save, you study how to save and you learn the basics. And as you learn each skill, you get a little more competent at that skill. And the more skills you're competent at, the higher your confidence level. Well, how do you practice the skill of not working with the goal of not working being the end result? They don't align. So here's what worked for me. First, most people focus on the math, and math was this much of it, like buying an investment. Actually, math's a very small part of it. We don't practice the math until we get it right. We practice the math until we can't get it wrong. But it is this much of it. When we're thinking of retiring, the first thing is, well, what are the fears? What are the things we're most feared of? To use a redneck term, I ain't afeard of you. What if we retire and we fail at retiring and we have to go back to work? That's the world I live in now. My ultimate failure would be if my investing strategy didn't work or my ability to stay retired didn't work and I had to go back to work. So my worst case scenario is I'd be working like I was before. It's terrible. I'll do that. What if you retire, some time passes and you have to go back to work? Now you've got age, right? There, ageism might be a thing depending on the industry you work in. I was a Marine and a cop, and at a point, there's a point where you're too old to go back to that. I've been a truck driver. You can be a truck driver since Christ was a corporal and still be driving trucks if you want to. But what if technology changes? What if your ability to get the med card's not there for that field? So ageism, gap in employment, those are pretty good concerns. If you think, I'm going to pull a plug and walk away from work, what if I have to go back later? The other thing was, I didn't know why people would fail at this, right? If you choose stocks, it seems to be a lot of information on the best strategy, using the Trinity study to explain why the 4% rule works and how long it's been tested and what reserves you need and what the buckets you're going to use for your stocks. And I'm not a stock investing guy. I actually just bought my first stock the other day. I owned a stock before, but uh, if you buy stocks, there's a link in the description below to go to Robinhood and buy a stock that is currently, it's not as far on sale as it was. It was 70% on sale. And I thought it was because of something that's probably not going to be around for a long time. And it was going to go back up to its normal price. So I'm dollar cost averaging $1,000 a day into that stock until it goes back above $300 a share. And we'll see what I end up with. Up to no more than 1% of my net worth. I'm very transparent on this channel and I actually share all the numbers. My portfolio is still small enough to do that. I think that's a good thing. Yeah, the honesty is always good. So I was wondering, why would people fail in the investing strategy that I chose? So I chose buy and hold rentals. You can choose crypto, grow a business, stocks, marry for wealth. That's not worth it. Divorce for wealth. There you go. I chose buy and hold rentals. And there's a bunch of different ways to invest in real estate. This was the method that I chose. And I couldn't find, like I could find people who went back to work who owned stocks. I couldn't find people who went back to work who used to own rentals. And I looked for a long time. So I tried to figure out who used to own rentals. And I'm in communities like BiggerPockets, one rental at a time, groups of people who generally invest in real estate. And then I found people in the groups like Choose FI, Mr. Money Mustache, right? They tried real estate, didn't work for them. They went into stocks. That's what's working for them. So they have the mindset of earn more than you make, save and invest the difference, put your money to work so you don't have to, make work optional. Many paths to do it. There is no one right way. There is a one right way for you. And this was the way for me. I've had my Mandalorian mask. This is the way. I'm definitely a Pedro Pascal fan. Uh, no matter how bad Disney trashes the rest of that entire universe. Now they're with the Emperor's New Groove. Ran off with the squirrel again. The people who had rentals and failed did the thing that I have the solution for. So this is how I got around the fear. The first fear was I got laid off from law enforcement because of the housing crash, right? You know, when there's no money coming into cities, they lay off a bunch of officers. So I got laid off and I changed careers. I had three kids to raise. I started making not a lot of money. I was in a lot of bad debt and I survived. So if I had to go back to work after a long time not working and I had to change careers and had a gap in employment, I figured I could survive that. But I was trying to figure out who owned rentals and failed and had to go back to work. Well, I ended up finding that there were some one-offs. Some people, birth in the family, death in the family, divorce in the family, major health concern, something, bad debt structure, which is what generally caused most of the failures in 2008, was having adjustable rate loans that were ninja loans, so they didn't verify your income, so you shouldn't have borrowed money, and then you borrowed 105% to wrap the closing costs into the loans. You were over levered. So I wasn't doing any of that, right? I figured out that the debt problem I had fixed. Almost everybody who used to own rentals and failed and got into stocks, this is the people I found in ChooseFi. There might be people who just failed, went back to work, and never thought of it again. I couldn't find them. There was no group of them out there. Uh, did this one thing. They would say consistently, well, I didn't want to raise the rent because then I'd lose a good tenant. And since they were afraid of raising the rent, then instead of losing a good tenant, they lost a good asset. I came up with the binder strategy. I actually have a course at diontalk.com that's free. You can take the course. It teaches you how to get your tenants to ask you to raise the rent, and they're happy when you agree. Happy tenants don't trash your property. Happy tenants don't leave. So the confidence was there to overcome the fears, right? So getting around the fears, step one. Step two, if you invest in stocks, you kind of have a cheat code. You can go and have your portfolio looked at by a financial advisor, right? Hire a fiduciary, somebody who has actually taken an oath or signed a form that says they've got to put your portfolio's growth above their own personal profit and do a fee-only advisor where they don't charge a percentage, they just charge a fee. And if you're investing in stocks, you shouldn't be listening to me as far as investing goes. You should be listening to Joe Kuhn or somebody like that here on YouTube, Kuhn. He invested in stocks, retired at 54, has been retired like 6 years now. He's got great content on how to retire using stocks and info on being retired. That's why I listen to him. And if you invest in real estate, there's no way I would go and hire a financial advisor. So here's my experience with financial advisors. On Joint Base Lewis McCord, I was running a nonprofit that helped military members transition into non-driving jobs. Like we would help people, spouses, and people getting out find jobs in HR, IT, operations, logistics, forklift warehouse, whatever, with trucking companies, not driving the trucks, something I did along the lines with the CDL school that I ran. And on the base, there were a ton of financial advisors in the transitioning center. And basically what they were to me was predators. They if they couldn't get your assets under management, they didn't want to talk to you. And what they really did in that case was find other veterans to try to bring more veterans in. So that's my one experience with them, fairly negative. I also don't invest in stocks, so I don't have a need for them. As soon as I mentioned real estate or rentals, I could see the little switch in their brain turn off and they don't want to talk to me anymore because they can't put my assets under management. So I had to find investors who had reached financial freedom, who had made work optional, get a get to know them, develop a relationship, and say, hey, Let me transparently share my numbers with you and get your feedback. Now, for me, it was a long path. I made a YouTube channel. I grew it for over a year. I got to the point where Michael Zuber and Matt the Lumberjack Landlord made a video with me dissecting my portfolio. Really, it was just a long term, it was the long game for me to get them to review my portfolio. And they pointed out everything they thought was wrong. They thought everything they thought was right, and everything they thought was wrong was only optimizing things. They didn't see and it would point out anything that would be a game changer or would tell me I shouldn't be able to retire on what I have. So peer review. How do you have a peer review what you're doing? Crypto, you're going to have to find somebody. I wouldn't go to a financial advisor for that. Starting and growing your own business, a business analyst, maybe somebody like, I forget the name of his firm, but we had Andrew Ballard and the Ballard team, I think was his name. He wrote the book, Your Opinion Doesn't Matter. And we had him review the business when I was growing the CDL school and my nonprofit. So there's ways to do that. But in real estate, for me, it was finding other investors, having them look at everything and be just blunt. Tell me what's wrong. Tell me what's right. Tell me where my debt structure is wrong, where my loan to value is wrong, where my portfolio is wrong, the market, the asset class, anything. Have them look at every aspect of it and then actually do something with the feedback. Two, it's the math. You actually have to do the math. This year, in October 5th, 6th, and 7th, there is the BiggerPockets convention happening in Vegas at the Caesars Palace. I am super humbled that I've even been invited to talk. They took a poll, thank everybody who voted for me. And so on the first day, I present on two panels. One of those panels is how do you determine your freedom number? This is what they call it. And the second panel is how to acquire that freedom number through real estate. And then on the third day, I'm actually the keynote speaker. If you want to go and you want a discount, sorry, Futureland, if you're watching this after October 2025, the discount code is in the description below. It's Dion50. It gets you $50 off, even off the early bird special. So they have a discount right now if you buy your tickets early, and then my code gets you more points off of that, more dollars off of that. So the first one is what's your freedom number? Now, for this, most of us have, there's really two numbers that I go off of. The first one is how much does your life cost? That you kind of have the data for. Now, there's some creativity there. Maybe you're going to move to a more expensive country, less expensive country, do some scuba diving in Portugal, Thailand, Colombia, or you have different hobbies that maybe take you to the countries that cost more. You are no longer going to be saving for retirement. You're no longer going to be paying the highest taxes because you don't have earned income as much. You have your portfolio income. You're no longer going to be commuting to work. You're no longer going to have the expenses related to your job. While working, your employer was paying your healthcare premiums. They were not paying for your healthcare. Just take that little bit out of your little caveman brain and throw it away. They didn't pay your deductible. They didn't pay anything that went above insurance costs. They, in some cases, some very rare cases, yes, I'm sure big enough companies would do that. But they were paying your premium. So in retirement, the one expense that I know for most of us goes up is healthcare because you are now going to pay the premium. Your cost for deductible and your cost for things above insurance are exactly the same before you quit as after. So don't let healthcare be the thing that traps you in a job. Have an asset for every expense, right? I got the travel duplex, the food duplex, the vodka fourplex, the vehicle duplex, the healthcare triplex, whatever the expenses are for you, make sure you allocate correctly. That's the first number. What does your life cost? Then there's the math portion that says, okay, here's where the confidence in math, because confidence comes in all of these categories. But the first one in math is called, that's your financial independence number. Once your life is covered, you don't have to keep doing the same job. If you hate your job, or if you hate your job, you should have quit and got something else already. But if you have a job, you can now maybe look for another job where you don't care so much about the income, right? You don't have to make as much money. The more you make, the faster it can happen, as long as you control your expenses. So that's your financial independence number. You don't retire there. I agree with David Green when he said, if you get to $5,000 in cash flow and you need $5,000 in cash flow and you retire, you're stupid. It's not how he put it. That's the Dion spin, because I call people idiots all the time. It's a familial term of love in my world. Because then you're not going to handle one eviction, one um, pandemic, rent freeze, one time where rents go down for a period of time. Whatever is going to happen in your future, you're not ready. So the financial independence number is when you can change jobs. The financial freedom number is when you don't have to work anymore at all. And for me, this is on a sliding scale. The less you need, the bigger the multiplier you need. So if it takes you $1,000 a month to retire, I wouldn't retire until I had 5 or 6 times that, so that you can handle a major health concern, so that you can handle your vehicle needing replaced or having to relocate or something. If you need $50,000 a month, I don't think you need 6 or 7 times that. You might need 1.5 times that. My living expenses, since I house hack, saving for the next vehicle when I drive paid off, so I don't have interest rates on any kind of bad debt. I live for free. I spend about $4,000 a month, and that's even me kind of forcing myself to go out and spend money on food. I have a reverse budget of spending at least 2,000 a month on food eating out. So when I try and I do other things, I get that up to around 5 grand. When my 4,000 that I need to live my basic life, when the cash flow passed 16,000, that was 4 time multiplier. I felt kind of silly going to work. So I retired with a multiplier of 4. This is the math part. What's your life cost? What multiplier do you need? The less that you need, the bigger the multiplier you need. The third thing, and this is where a lot of people mess up. One, they never retire because they never knew this. This is the thing they should do. And then retiring become a very easy decision, like a flip a switch and it just doesn't matter. Do a litmus test. Do a test where you can categorize I'm successful or I have failed. A lot of people talk about getting their savings rate to 10% or 25% while you're in the beginning of growth. And if you're investing in something where you're just doing a long-term net worth play to do the 4% rule, sure, go ahead. But investing in cash flowing assets like real estate, the first 5 years, I didn't touch a penny from the rental income. Every penny that came in from rents was rolled back into the business, right? Covered the expenses, saved for repairs and maintenance, and then reinvest in the next thing. But around 2018, so this was 5 years of owning rentals. I had started before that, so 7 or 8 years of starting to save, getting to the point where I had rentals. The cash flow from my rentals was more than my living expenses. So towards the end of 2018, I started to do this experiment. This was my litmus test. From 2018 to 2022, I didn't touch one penny from my W-2. I had a 4 year period where we went through pretty flat 18, 19, and 20. And then in 2020, we had a 30% stock market crash and a recovery, an eviction moratorium, a rent freeze. 2021 to 2022, we saw interest rates triple. So I had that 4 year period with a lot of chaos and a lot of good things, and a lot of bad things. And I didn't have to touch a penny. My savings rate from my W-2 was more than 100% because I saved every penny from the W-2 and got to the point where I was saving about 65+% of the rental income. 4 year litmus test before I retired to make sure I didn't need a penny from my job. So if you get to the point where all of your expenses are covered by your job and you pick a period of time, it could be 6 months, 2 years, 4 years, like I did. I liked my job, so staying for 4 years was pretty easy. And you don't touch anything from your job has two benefits. One, you're doing the test. Do I need any money from this job? Didn't for 4 years. And two, for the duration of your test, you're continuing to save, right? 2018, I started not using any money from job. 2020, I purchased a fourplex. End of 2020, I emptied my retirement accounts and purchased a triplex. 2021, I had purchased a duplex, and then I retired. And since then, I've purchased another duplex because the money keeps piling up. So that was the litmus test. Then I made sure that I invested in something that benefits. So if you want to invest in stocks, you should be watching guys like Joe Kuhn and going, okay, how did you allocate your investing? What buckets do you do? So you've got money for the next couple of years to handle a bear market. You've got money, like he'll explain it very eloquently, way above my head. With real estate, I invested in specifically Class C long-term tenants. When there is inflation, like 2021 and 2022, where we had inflation that had a nine handle on it for a period of time, 7 and 8% inflation was normal. My net worth grew. It didn't hurt me. When we had an economic hardship, 30% drop in stocks in 2020 that recovered really quick, 20% drop in stocks in 2022. That was like an 11, it was a massive amount of money just disappeared from stocks. People in class B and class A rentals, nice rentals, whose jobs go away as you're replaced with AI, you know, Clinton went into office and laid off 377,000 federal workers. As you get all these people who lose their job for whatever's going on, class B and A people to save money will rent my class C properties. In 2009, 10, and 11, before I owned the rentals, class C rents went up. So I invested in something that benefits from inflation and has more demand during a recession. So this is where the confidence comes from. I know the asset class. I've had it looked at by peers. So you got peer review, know the math, test it, make sure you're planning for inflation and recession, even stagflation. And then the most important thing that I take from Joe Kuhn is there are people who retire and then fail at retiring. The math worked out, their peer review was good, their asset class was good, but Joe says, and I'm going to make sure credit goes to him, retire to something, not from something. My take on this is I really want you to build a life where work is in the way. For those last 4 years of that test, I started taking cruises, month-long trip. I think it was my first trip to Thailand, my first trip to Colombia, 2 months in Florida, learning what happens if you actually have months off. How much scuba diving becomes too much? When do you add paddleboarding? Build a life where work is in the way, and then it's a lot easier to retire. So I had peers look at it, I tested it, and I couldn't wait to get the time freedom because of all the things, the people who think, I don't want to retire because I don't know what I would do with myself. There's a reason, and I explain it in my Math of Time videos, right? Because right now, most people are working and they get their 5 hours off a day that are theirs if they're lucky, if they get that much, and they're exhausted. So the idea of having 15 or 20 or 10 hours a day where you're just wiped out, what's the point? But when you remove the work and the commute and the related stress, and you get 15 hours a day that are yours and you're just full of energy, there's so much you can do. There's not enough time in 5 decades of freedom to do everything that there is to do. So I'm here waiting for you to join me. That will be released as a separate video for those people who will never click on a 2 hour video. I am going to go through all of the, are we getting ads? I'm supposed to get a notice and turn them off when they pop up. I'll try to watch. Uh, I was actually trying to talk to the camera because that was going to be a separate view. So I wasn't looking at the comments because it's usually, your sound's not on, your sound's not on. Some of you would text me. Super excited about this. The rest of this is going to be to answer your questions. We had a good members only call this weekend. This coming Friday at 5 p.m., Justin Canberra is going to be joining the Financial Freedom for the Lazy Person course and going over investing at a distance, why he ended up changing markets and how he did that. So if you're there, I look forward to seeing you there. I see Ninja Vanish. Howdy. Hit the like button. Much appreciated. I'm also going to be giving away an Audible book today. I have the dice to determine who it's going to go to in a little bit. I'll probably do it before I get to the questions. I'm going to go to the video from last week where I did that and then forgot to give away the Audible book at the end. And I want to make sure I do that now. So this was in the video, The Language of Money, and the live stream. There were super chats. I'm going to roll. I want to see how many super chats there were. I have to get to the end of the video. Sorry for the delay in the video here. Is it really not showing me the super chats? You got to be kidding me. That's not good. Does it not do that? Oh, that's terrible. Because I wanted to go to the people who were in that video. I guess I could just do all of the comments. I wanted it to go to the super chat people, but here we go. I'll pick first 30. No, there's not a 30-sided on here anymore. There we go. There it is. First 30. This is going to spin for a while. As a DM, can you imagine the stress you have if you just do this and spin it and hold it up without announcing what the roll is for? Two people just got that. Chester, howdy. Good to see you here. Keep striving for financial independence. Absolutely. And once you've achieved it, make sure you protect it. Wayne Wong, howdy. Julie Anderson, when do you leave? Wayne, howdy. Julie, when do I leave? Let's get there. I think I've resolved the permit issue with the city. 1 to 3 weeks, somewhere between 3 weeks and tomorrow. 21. So this will be in my order. And anybody who wants message twice gets it. 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Vivek. So if Vivek shows up, it'll go to him. If not, it will go to Rob because he's right above it. And if Rob doesn't show up, then it'll go to Chester, who's right above him. So Vivek Goswami. Jason, howdy. All Night Hider. Did you do a Ditsy join the some today? Awesome. Welcome. Next members only. I'll let you also all the members only. If you joined that, all the previous members only are there. And it's how to learn the skill of analyzing a rental property, which, like the beginning of this video, is this much math and about 19 other things. We should make a comprehensive list. I should do that. Chester, Wayne, Julie, Jason, Theodore, Davis. Howdy. I'm pretty sure that when that what gives Dion confidence is his dashing good looks. I think your camera's blurry. Mikey, howdy. I think that's why I make YouTube videos is I can go, if somebody who looks like me can pull this off, anybody can do this. Anna Kay, howdy. Good to see you here. I smoked like Cheech and Chong all night or higher. Howdy, Matthew. Good to see you. Ninja Vanish, Stephan and Dave. Hello. John. Good evening. Let's hear how excited you are for BP 2025. I'm just floored. If you're going to be there, this will be a little bit of the opening speech, and this is factual. I was on path to work until late 70s and probably on path to have my kids take care of me when I was too old to work. And then I bought a rental. And the first year went so bad. I rented to a friend because who can trust a stranger? Who needs a lease with a friend? He was a single parent like me, so when rent was late, I was okay with it. Late became never. Uh, when I went and talked to him to figure out what was going on, he didn't even live there. He had moved out and rented the house to somebody else and trashed the house. And luckily, I was upside down on the house. Like I owed more than it was worth. Couldn't even give it away. Couldn't subject to. Couldn't stuck with it. And then around 2011, 2012, as I was getting ready to buy the first property because I was stuck with that, I decided I found out I was the problem. I hadn't educated myself. And while I found Michael Zuber one rental at a time around 2018, 19, when he started, came out with his book and started his YouTube channel, I first saw him on BiggerPockets forums doing with a B blogs, not even videos, just write-ups on different things. And Brandon Turner was starting there at about the same time too. And so I look at 2012 and 13 when I go, okay, single family houses don't work. Found out about house hacking, found out about small multifamily, found out about different lending things. Like everything that led to me not having to work came from communities like that existing. So then flash forward to being retired and never having to work, going from like, I'm going to work until I'm so old I can't work, and my kids are probably going to have to take care of me. That would be living hell on earth because I saw how they took care of their pets, right? So it was not going to be good. To now I never have to work again. And when I get so old, I can't even take care of myself. I have the finances to have a paid professional. Like, this is such a better outcome. So completely humbled to be able to like just get called to go and present uh, at like one rental at a time's event in February. I This year sucked. I got sick. Uh, Made it for the thing. Couldn't hang out and talk for days. Did midnight Denny's meetups. I made one, missed the other. So I'm looking forward to October for BP. Definitely. I hope to see everybody there or some people there. And if you don't go to the event and you go to Vegas, I'll see you at LobbyCon. Financial firefighter. Aloha. Is it still Aloha if you're in North Carolina? Spencer. Howdy. Spencer Steele. I think I say it every time I see your name. It's like the name of a character in a action book. When looking at a house hack with 5% down, what's the thought process? Do you still look at cash on cash return as if it were 25% down? And if cash flows, say do it. So I generally look at rentals as though I did 20% down or 25% down if I'm doing 25% down. If I do a house hack, I look at it as though it was 20, not 25. It's only 25 when I look at how, if it was me doing it. Clear my throat. Hang on. I have videos on my channel, and I should probably make it again because it's been years. How to run the numbers on a house hack. There's a couple things to do. The first is I run it though I did a 20% down because 5% down, it's pretty easy. But let's say you did a 0% down VA loan. Very easy to show an infant return or 90% cash on cash return or 300% cash on cash return, right? Not very good metric. And I'm not trying to figure out how much I'm making. What I'm trying to figure out is this property compared to other properties, all of them as rentals, not house hacks. How would they perform? So that's the first thing. Run the numbers as though it was 20% down. You can run it with 5% down and go, oh, this is the cash on cash I actually got. It's not a fair comparison against other rentals. Then I run the numbers as though all units were rented out. So even the one I'm occupied, what is current area average rent? If it was rented out, what would my cash on cash return be? And then I run through all of the other 19 things outside of math that determine something is a good rental or not. It's a great question because it's kind of nuanced and there's no right way. There's probably several wrong ways, but there is a right way for you. And for me, the right way is run it like I was buying it as a rental, 20% down, and all the units were rented. Oculus, howdy. Congratulations on keynote speaker. Thank you. I appreciate it. Should be getting my tax records together for my CPA, but not today. I'm indulging in Dion night education. You could multitask. I think I have everything together. There was one thing I had to do this year that I've never had to do before. Normally it's like, here's the current spreadsheet, send it. Here's the 1098s from the mortgages, send it. And here's any like weird income that I had. Like I just had a call this morning where I'm an expert witness for a new court case, and so there'll be some income for this year on that. I had that some last year. So I sent a lot off. This year, I think new people bought my mortgages. In the past, it was always like whoever I had them with, they sold them once. But last year, I think Mr. Cooper's bought a bunch. Can't stand working with them. Uh, Round Point bought one. Oh my gosh, whoever they hired to work their call center problems. It's frustrating. Uh, None of them put their escrow payouts for insurance on the 1098s. In the past, there's a little box and they put it on there. And so I had to actually do some work. It took probably 20, 25 minutes, terrible, and look up what I paid on all my insurances and send that to the CPA. So that was a new one. Normally taxes are like hour and a half. This one is probably going to hit the 2 hour mark. That's stupid. The grumpy contractor. Did Frank change his mind? Change his name? Howdy, changed your logo for upcoming YouTube channel. This is Jim Vantas. Okay, Jim, there you go. Nice. Hey, Jim, I think you sent me a friend request on the Book of Faces, and now I recognize your name. Send a message. If you've ever requested a friend on any social media, send a message. I have thousands of friend requests, and I basically go through and anybody who sent a message, I accept. Anybody who didn't send a message, too many bots out there to worry about who's real and who's not. And then my chat moved, which is great. I appreciate it. I think there was another David Cardone joined and Alexander Dutter joined. Nice. So see you guys in the next members only. And remember, all the previous members only are still there. And Jim, I look forward to your YouTube channel. Let me know what I can do to help. Oculus. Do you always do lease signings in person on paper? Not always. Ever do electronic signing like DocuSign pros and cons? I have done dinosaur version. I haven't done DocuSign. Hemlane has a version where they can sign it, no, do virtual sign. Don't think I've used that yet. I generally do it in person whenever possible if I'm present. A couple of reasons. I like the interaction. Like it's still a vetting process right up to the point where they sign and send the deposit. Uh, get to break down the lease to make sure there's anything that I specifically care about the property that they're aware of. But if I'm out of the country, I have done, can you print this out, sign it, scan it, send it back to me? Then I'll print it, sign it, scan it, send it back. And I also get copies of, current driver's licenses so I can compare signatures. And I've been fine with that. Haven't had zero problems. No bad mojo. Howdy. Greetings. Anyone else getting ads? That sucked. This was the second. Ooh, so if you get an ad, there should be a skip button. Couldn't even skip for some reason. Yeesh. Sorry. Wealth Rentals. Howdy. Good to see you here. Jim B. Howdy. Ryan, no such thing as healthcare the way most people think of it. It's only insurance that makes the underlying bill exponentially more expensive. That is very accurate. And in the US, when you're in another country, you can get basically like Regent's Blue Shield good insurance for 60 bucks a month per couple. Might be a little more by now, might be like 80, 90 bucks a month, but it's not like it is here. The Riley Oak, howdy, took back a message to make me lose sleep and wonder forever and ever what was said. Bill, howdy. Safety meeting time. Yeah, safety meeting. Everybody used to love it when my brother David would come and see me at work because it meant there was a safety meeting. They would all come in for a shot, which is great when you're CDL instructors. Scuba is only limited by one's nitrogen saturation. That is very true. I'm trying to think if I don't think I've ever done a dive that was beyond suggested times. It sucks when I dive with my brother David. He is a genetic abnormality. Uh, when you dive, there's this comparison BS thing that everybody comes up after a dive and compares how much air you have or bars you have left, depending on where you're at. And I don't think he breathes. I think he irritated. We were on a dive in Thailand, and there was an instructor there who's, this is what they do all day long. And he came up and then it became a challenge between the two of them to basically, we'd go on a dive, then they'd go on another dive. And then they'd come up, they'd see where they're at, they'd go on another dive. Not me. And David, it's something he sings when he's underwater. Wish there was a way to hear that or put that in a video. But I think I have what would be considered normal breathing for scuba, not whatever alien race David is. Brian, howdy. Good to see you. Nitrox, Heliox, Trimex, and rebreathers for the win. There you go. Justin Canberra is a good dude. Looking forward to him as a guest. Yep, he stayed with us. Last year we got more time together. This year he was like in and out. Wealth building journey, either 10 or 11. Nice. Built thumbs up. RE Travel. Howdy. Travel. What is your tenant screening criteria? Do you have a minimum credit score, for example? Yes. So a lot of people that I know, landlords will go, they have a multiplier of the rent for income, and then they have a credit score, and then eviction history, and then criminal background. I basically have two criteria that are tangible, and then some criteria that are not tangible. Gray area sketchy stuff, not something you would tell a tenant, something I'll put on YouTube because I want you to be better at what you do, and this is how I do it. Everything is legal with a fee. So I don't look at income because if you look at an income multiplier, at least currently, you eliminate a lot of people who get their income through tips and they might not claim them. That'll change because the government is very sneaky. They're like, hey, we're going to put no tax on tips, and everybody's going to claim how many tips they actually make. And then when they come back to tax tips, they're going to say, no, no, no. You have a precedence of this is how much you make every year. It can't go down from there. Uh, I'm not a conspiracy theorist if they're always right. So I don't look at income. I do verify employment because it's an opportunity to catch them in a lie. So the tangible is I don't care what they make. The intangible is I want to get their name of the company they work at so I can call from a source that I found myself, ask for HR, verify employment. I look at no evictions ever. I don't care if they were evicted in the 18th century. How long ago it was doesn't matter. If they've been through an eviction, they're not going to rent one of my properties. Then I look at credit score. And since I don't look at income, I look at a bit higher credit score. Generally, I want a 700 credit score. There have been times where I would take a 650, but I'll look at credit history to explain a lower score. I'll take cosigners. Uh, their signature, if it's a cosigner, has to be notarized when I do that. And I want cosigners to be held accountable in court if we get there. I don't look at criminal stuff, but when I show properties, this is at least how I do it when I'm in the country here and I'm going in person, I do open house format. So even if somebody pays for an application and says, "Hey, I want to see the property," I'll be like, "Great." And if there's a very specific time that works for them, I'll say, "Great, I'm going to be there for 2 hours that day." And then I let everybody else that's interested know for 2 hours that day, I'm going to be there. You can come by for tours because it's very easy for a possible applicant or somebody applying for a job to be really nice to the person who controls the outcome. Yes, sir. No, sir. Yes, ma'am. Whatever. I want to know how they act around people who don't benefit them in any way. Because I have existing tenants in the other units that are going to have to deal with and put up with whoever I put in the property. So if I can get another look at the window of, the macroscopic, how does this person deal with other people? So if they show up, if they're rude and condescending to the other applicants, no deal. There's nowhere to really check the box for that. That's just, I'm sorry, a qualified applicant applied before you. And then if they're nice to the other people, they're nice to me, then that's part of the screening criteria is how do they get along with other applicants? I see a super chat from Wealth Building Journey. Thank you for that. Need to add references to the comments. The 10 or 11 was in the number of super chats that were in the other video to see about when it was, but they don't show up in my live chat replay, which I didn't know because I was just going to roll and go through there. But if Vivek shows up, gotta let him know. If not, goes to Rob, then to you. Might just do two. We'll see. Ed, howdy. Can you explain the utilities allowance for Section 8? Like, how do I calculate how much Section 8 will pay for my property? So get an idea of which utilities are going to be in your name that you have to pay. Section 8 will not pay you for utilities. Tenants can pay trash. They can pay to the electric company. They just can't pay you. So the example would be, I have places where the water has to be in the property owner's name. On my non-Section 8 tenants, I back bill or a flat bill a little bit above so that in the summer when it's a higher, it balances out, right? Whatever's legal in your state, look up, make sure you do it what's legal for you. But you can't do that with Section 8. You, the owner, can't bill the tenants for utilities. So it's in the rent. So I have a property where I pay the water and the Section 8's rent uh, includes the utilities. So if your fair market rent says they'll pay $1,000 and water is going to cost you $60 a month, $60 of the rent is yours, right? To cover the water. That's how you're going to do that. They do have an allowance if they're short on units. They can sometimes go 10% above fair market rents. You might have to argue with them on it, which is use the binder strategy. You send them an email to the counselor. Here's your fair market rents. Uh, here's several like properties in the area and what they're going for. They only care bedroom count. So if you go, I've got 2 bedroom, this is a 2 bedroom, but mine has a jacuzzi and mine has a garage, none of that matters to them. They only care about bedroom count. So make sure you're sending, I have a two bedroom, here's a two bedroom, here's what they rent for. Here's a two bedroom, here's what they rent for. Send three or four examples. Now, this can bite you. If you're trying to get more rent and all the examples that you find rent for less than yours, you did your rent study wrong. Right? The binder strategy can go both ways. Tenants can use the binder strategy to ask a landlord to lower their rent if their rents are above the area average. Doesn't mean they will, just like with tenants, doesn't mean they will either. But if the tenant can look up a whole bunch of rents that are comparable, like age, just the shape of the building, everything that matters to the tenant or the landlord, and they can prove, hell, the rents around here are less than this, uh, and the landlord won't, then you can move. Just like if you want to do the binder and the tenant won't come up at all, you don't have to renew their lease or rent to them. Hope that made sense. You have to find whenever I get a text from somebody during my live stream, I think it's got to be important, especially if they're from the chat. Oh, somebody asking for something. Fair enough. David Cardo, howdy. Is Vivek present tonight? If not, I will know by the end of the night. It'll go to Rob, and then there you go. Pinhead, 1317. What did I do? Did I do it? Do I have it here? The same pinhead, or do you have a different reason for it being pinhead? I have several of those in different shapes. I need to get my DM one of those. There you go. Yeah, there. So this is, oh, I should put a link because this is from Amazon. But this, I don't want to break it. I'm just going to kind of drop it from like 1 inch. This thing is like solid, like super heavy. Feels good when it spins. Uh, Alex and David joined. That's cool. Brian, I have a duplex, one side renter for 15 for 3 months. Work finished on second side, not rented after a month. PM suggested lowering to 1350. Have somebody look at the listing. That generally seems to be the problem with why it's not listed. You had it rented for 3 months, so the other one rents it in the winter, so winter's probably not the issue. What is the listing description? What's happened to rents in your area, right? If you're in the DC area where everybody's moving out because all the jobs got let go, rents are probably going to come down. Rents have kind of flatlined in Washington the last few months. There's a 9% increase year over year, November 23 to November 24 in Washington. But then they've flatlined since then. So have you done a rent study? Is 1,500 still fair for that? Is there something about that side that's not as attractive? Do they both have a garage? Do they both have parking? Do they both have a fenced yard? Are they identical? And then have somebody look at the description. A lot of times, like if you want, send me the description right now. You can put a link in the chat. If you email it to me, I'll check my email. I'll pull it up. We'll do a review really quick and I'll say, hey, here's what I might change. And if your property manager is doing it, this won't be a dig against you because you didn't make the listing. Now, I've done this in the members groups with people. I've said, hey, let's pull up the rental listing and look at it. And the course call, we had Matt look at somebody's recently and go, here's some suggestions. The way you put up the listing can have a huge impact on the amount of attention. And then I would find out how your PM is listing it. Are they using one platform or are they on five or six? And are the ones that they're on the ones used in that area? Uh, I hear we listed for 3 months. How far is it from you? Like if I was investing at a distance and something didn't rent within 3 weeks, I'd be on a plane. Yeah. It's not always a rent adjustment. Um, if you do a rent study and you find out 1,500 is really high, sure, rent adjustment could be a problem, could be an option, but it could be, do you have the right photo listed first? Are you highlighting things that matter to a tenant? Because landlords go age of building, square footage. Tenants go pet friendly. It has a washer dryer hookup. It's close to the college, the business I work at, the park nearby, the biggest shopping center. Like, do you have bullet points? No paragraphs. Bullet points of everything that's close that within half a mile to 3 miles that they can get to. That's usually where I start with that before rent. And then before doing a rent adjustment, I would probably steal a page from commercial properties. And it's funny. That's actually how I learned how to whistle, by talking and accidentally whistling. And then I realized I don't whistle with my mouth like everybody else. Absolutely overshare for the evening, but has nothing to do with the mouth. Uh, where the heck was I? Before you do a rent decrease, like a large apartment complex does, do a concession. Half a month off, a full month off, free rental of a moving truck. Uh, what can you do to entice them to come in before you lower the rents? That's a good question too. Thank you. And then my chat moved, and I see was a Wayne Wong gifted a financial membership that went to CJ. Howdy, welcome to the dark side, CJ. We have cookies. Chat moved. Mr. Cooper bought yours too, Pinhead. Nice. They're very frustrating to work with. Looking for where I lost in my chat. I know that dead silence sucks. Okay, there we go. Got the duplex. Oculus. For St. Patrick's Day, I made some fake landscaping stones from chicken wire and concrete for my property. I call it shamrocks. Nice. If it's a dad joke, good job. If it was a real thing, it actually sounds kind of fun. I made a farm frame for the kitchen with chicken wire mesh and then pins for recipes, clothespins for recipes to hang it on. It was very farmy because I did brick backsplash in the kitchen. And then the recipes are 1 part Mountain Dew, 2 parts Skull vodka, pinch of salt. Why does nobody put just a pinch of salt? Anytime you put Coke and rum, vodka, Mountain Dew, you want a salt to break it up. I guess how do you? Good on the overshares today. No bad mojo. Determining appropriate rent. After you look up HUD website and other rent websites, how do you determine the extras? Yard, storage shed, detached garage, EV charger, etc. Seems to me all the resources I can't name the top of my head right now are for regular apartments with no consideration for the extras. That's because tenants aren't looking for the extras. And this is why we have a lot of videos and parts of courses where we say, these are the upgrades to your property that will get you more rent. These are the upgrades where you're throwing away money. So your rent study is fair market rents, that's just bedrooms, but then you go to all of the places that people rent properties from, and in your area, you have to find out which ones predominantly use the most. So for me, I look at most of them, right? Apartments.com, Redfin, Zillow, Realtor. I don't go to like Trulia or any of those other ones because Apartments and Zillow own those and they go to all of them. Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, to see what is renting, what are people highlighting in an area. An example is in Washington State, I learned about halfway through my investing journey that I get more rent from a carport than I do a garage. It's unique to my market because people want to be able to park not in the rain, but don't have to wait for a garage door. It's weird. I have garages, they rent just fine. They become storage rooms, but carports don't become storage rooms. They're actually parking out of the rain. In some areas, the pool might be the thing, or hot tub might be the thing. So it's a rent study of your market. Now, if you can highlight it has a storage shed, sure, put that in there. You're more likely to get a tenant. You're not more likely to get more rent. What you are more likely to do is rent to a tenant during the lease signing. You can then say, there's also a shed here where I store my stuff. I would rent it to you for $50 or $80 a month, and I would move my stuff out. But we can talk about that later. They're not renting it with the lease if it doesn't get you more money then, but it could be added to the lease later for more money. Just like an apartment complex does, you rent the apartment, they list how much it costs. Then if you want the little storage shed down by the carports, it's this much. If you want a parking spot under a covered spot, it's 35 bucks or whatever it is now a month. It was 35 last time I rented an apartment, which is only back when Christ was a corporal. Just a Marine Corps thing, means a long time ago. Because he's had some promotions since then. He's literally the son of God now. So been a minute since he's been a corporal. If it's not obvious, this is not the first today. You can't drink all day unless you start early. And we had a day today, first one in a while, where I sat out on the deck in the sun and just enjoyed the weather. Does that make sense? No bad mojo. Oh, and then a rent study is you can't look at those things and take a snapshot and go, here's what the rents are because I found six places for this amount. You look at the places that are for rent, you write some down, you take note of their current price when they were listed, and you watch them for a couple of weeks. In a couple of weeks, you'll start to get a pattern of this one rented really fast. This one was on for a while. They either did concessions or then they lowered the price, so they were too high. Or this one was on for a minute, went away, came back way higher because they got too much interest. You can't know that from a snapshot. It takes a minimum 2 weeks to figure those kind of things out, if not longer. When I have a tenant turnover, like the 2023, I had a guy in the Air Force tell me he got orders and he was leaving. So for like a month, I did a rent study. Then this year I had tenants that I helped buy a property. Here's your agent, here's your lenders, get them to buy a property. And like again, a month to do a rent study. Um, that's how I know there was a I think it was 9.3 or 9.6% rent increase in my market. And I do have a fourplex that does have some sheds, and they don't rent the sheds with their unit, but they can, and they're $100 a month, and they are rented, and they cost $3,300 to build the shed. It's a pretty good ROI. But the unit was rented without the shed. The shed is an add-on. Doug, howdy. What is your opinion on military buying a place to later rent out every duty station, ending up with rentals all over? I think it's a wasted opportunity if you don't. There's several people who do it. The more military towns, the more likely you are to find property managers that are used to dealing with military who travel. You tend to have more military tenants, so you might have a little higher turnover every 2 to 4 years based on the duty station. If you're at a training duty station, short term might be the way to go. If you're to try to keep civilian terminology, like permanent bases, you're probably just going to be long-term tenants. I'm a fan. You can use your VA loan more than once. You don't always have to. I still haven't used mine. I don't want to be 100% levered, so I like to put down payments down. And it's easier to get a conventional offer accepted by your seller than a VA loan. A couple of other reasons. I also have my VA loan in my pocket in case the best deal in the world pops up and I don't have the money currently to buy it. I have the ability to buy it still. Uh, so yeah, definitely you have the cheat code. Now, is if you get stationed at a place like there's a base south of Phoenix, I believe it's an army base, pretty small, nothing around the base. I don't know that I'd want to tie up a lot of my net worth in an area like that because you have one BRAC meeting, it's gone. I own near JBLM, which is also near Tacoma, Olympia, the state capital, uh, the port of Tacoma. Like so, even if the base JBLM went away, I'd probably feel it in. I only have three military tenants, but I'd probably lose a couple of other tenants that might be contractors or something. A third of my portfolio would be impacted if the base went away. But no, there was a BRAC meeting, a base realignment and closure meeting in 2014 when I was running the CDL school, and they invited us because we're a training provider for the base. You want to know how to piss everyone off at a BRAC meeting? Before the closure, like not before, but be pro the closure. My goal, which is a tactic that I use in a lot of conversations, if you ever meet me in person, you'll realize I do this a lot, is to take the devil's advocate to see how strong you are committed to your argument and what kind of facts you've looked up to defend yourself. So when the base realignment and closure was presented as an option, my little cause hate and discontent pot stirrer self said, man, does everybody realize how great the traffic around here would be if we did that? Didn't get invited back. Jason, what do you have against Mr. Cooper? They have my primary, bought my investment property, no problems yet. So no problems with it. I have a property that has this is what took me 20 minutes today. I have a property that has two insurance on it because it's two different structures. I can't get a policy on the property. I have to get a policy on the structures. And is my only one like that? It's the only one that's paying like that. They only pay one every freaking year. The insurance bill comes through, they get it, they pay it. The second insurance bill comes through and they say, we've already paid it. And they just don't do anything. So then I get a letter saying, hey, your policy's been canceled. If you want to continue your policy, you've got to pay it. So then I call the insurance. This is like the one place where this is the one property, Mr. Cooper's problem, won't let me do the insurance because one of the things I also like to do with all my insurance is pay it with a credit card so that I get the points. But every year with that Cooper company, I'm calling on the phone 20 minutes and I have to explain, check the notes. There's two policies. So when you got two bills, you were supposed to pay them. I almost have a canned response now with them. Doug Adams, you should meet Sarah Garrett. She and her husband literally do exactly that. I think that's the one that's been on Zuber's channel. A few things they do that. Absolutely. I was going to reference if I can remember the name. Thanks, Chester. Appreciate that. What not want Jason? Yeah, what? Nope. Gotta read it that way, anyways. Chester, my mortgage is from Cooper. Yeah. So they do the billing fine. They pay the taxes fine. I've had no issues with them. It's just the freaking insurance. And so maybe only people who have two policies on one property are going to have that same issue. Yep. YouTube Premium has been worth it for me. Yeah. If you don't have YouTube Premium, man, you're missing out. I've not heard a commercial. So I don't watch commercials as one of the I think I have a video on this. One of the reasons why I reached financial freedom is because I uh haven't watched a commercial in decades. I don't even let myself watch Super Bowl commercials because first of all, I don't watch the sports ball. Uh and as an anti-person, that's a very good day to go out and do stuff. But commercials are made by people with marketing degrees, decades of experience, who understand the tone, the sound, the lighting, the timing to get you to go, I've never heard of this thing before in my life, but I don't think I can live without it. So I don't buy anything I don't want. YouTube Premium is amazing. And you can listen to it with the app closed, with your phone closed. Matthew, thanks, Dion. Took your advice in investing in YouTube without ads. Definitely worth it. There you go. Love it. That a higher YouTube Premium is more than worth it for me. I cut the cord and haven't looked back since almost 3 years ago. I'm trying to figure. I think I did Premium in 2017 when I realized I was listening to more YouTube than watching it, and watching or listening to more YouTube than pretty much everything except audible books. The mermaids take David's breath away. Oculus, that's got to be it. Oh man. So in Colombia, go to Cartagena, go out and stay on Isla de Piratas. Was there for, I don't know, a week or two. Wasn't very long. But there's a mermaid statue. And so scuba around this island, there's a mermaid statue. And you can see the waves crashing on it. Can you imagine if you have scuba or even snorkel and you want to go out and see the mermaid statue? And your dumbass doesn't realize that that statue is in place because there's 80,000 bars of rebar going in every direction to hold everything in place, and the waves drag you in and out across it. If you go to Isla de Piratas, just take pictures of the mermaid statue from a ways away. Uh, Good memories. Awesome lobster, though. Like, guy comes up in a boat about the size of my desk, little bucket full of lobsters. You pick one, and he says, "Okay, that one's yours." He goes off, has it cooked, brings it back. You eat it right there on the beach. Man, I gotta go back. Stupid city. That's what they don't really have in Thailand. I don't remember lobster at all. Huh. I always waste bars after diving. Breathing technique isn't tough. I need to go diving now. With David, he tells me every time he's got this repetitive song he sings in and out with his breath, and I'm just down there. So diving off of Okinawa, it was one of the southern points. It was the one and only time I think I've touched a shark. I have a tri mask on, so there's sides like this and side in the front. So the sides, obvious, I didn't know this, amplify whatever's there. So I see this shark that looks 20 feet long, right? So that's like a whale shark. They don't mess with you. But this was a shark that had sharp teeth. And I went to move back and touched it because it was a shark about this big, about this far from my mask. I went through a lot of air. The adrenaline gets going. You're like, nope. Costa Rica. Ooh, there you go. Angel R. Como está usted? I need to get there and check it out. About the same for me, 3 years or so. I don't plan on leaving anymore. There you go. Rich Yonider, Taylor Stanley. Howdy. I used to dive with this dude who would smoke a cigarette while kicking out from the boat to the side. He used less air than 95% of the people with us. Pretty funny when there was someone new with us. Yeah, no kidding. Nice. Flavio. Howdy. Grandview, Washington. That sounds like a real place. Angry capitalist. Howdy. I just did a quick pass by of property that I'm looking at. The building and lot seem okay, but it's right next to a recycling center. Ooh, you do get some. I've got a recycling center not right next to it. I know because I literally just dollied a, what was it? It was like a, I think it was a dishwasher. I've taken several things there, but it's about 2 blocks away, 2 city blocks, not 2 country blocks. I'm okay with it, but any closer, yeah. I guess I'd have to go park there and watch it for a little bit to see how I felt about owning close to it. Because that's one of the things we do. We talk about in the members only. So many people focus on math. What we do in the members only is we take about 45 minutes to analyze a deal, learning the skill that's going to take you 1 to 2 minutes, but it takes 45 minutes to cover what those things are. And first is we identify what am I looking at? Where am I looking at it? We look at days on market, we look at a few things, and then we go to the map before we've looked at the pictures, before we've looked at the math. You have a pretty good idea for the math once you've studied a market. You can kind of go, okay, what am I looking at? It's a duplex, 2 bedroom each side. I know what the rents are going to be, so I know what the price would make sense. But you've identified all of that, and that doesn't happen. You haven't run the math yet. Then we look at the map, and the first thing we do is we zoom out a little bit and we go to satellite view and we look around for recycling centers, junkyards. I own a property next to a junkyard. I've had zero problems because there's a nice I want to say privacy fence that they put up. But ironically, that's the one that's 2 blocks from the recycling center. Huh. And water desalination plants, mushroom factories, what can have a smell, what can have a public transit, which can have an element you don't like. And then we go through all the other things, and then we get to the math. And math is not the last step. Pinhead. Oh, nice. I like the puzzle box. Nice. I should show you what's in the puzzle box. I can't. Millennium Mike watches my stuff and he'd have to arrest me. CJ was gifted. Awesome. I'm already seeing prices soften. Yep. Angry capitalists seem good. What's up, Flavio? Thank you, Wayne. Welcome, Wayne. Thank you for your time and info. Harsh reality turned into fire. Nice. Howdy. Like the name. Hope the information is helping. John, drinking all afternoon and still nailing all the points on spot on. Nice. All afternoon. You think I didn't start it in the morning? What did I have to do? There was a reason why I started drinking early today. I had the attorney call. There was something else. And I was like, yeah, I think I'm going to have. Oh, that was it. It's a day. That's why I started drinking. No bad mojo. Thanks for the information about the rent study for my area. Nice. Angry capitalist. This just made my decision to tear down my old garage in a few years for a carport. Nice. Have I done that here? I haven't done that. I should do that. Yeah. I have one place I probably should do that. It's too much work. I'm lazy. But it would be the right thing to do. Um, that makes sense. Thank you for the heads up on that about insurance. With respect to Mr. Cooper. Thank you. No bad mojo. Is there an affiliate or referral link to YouTube Premium? Maybe time to readjust my. I don't think there is one. No service budget. If YouTube Premium could be that beneficial. Yeah, it definitely made a huge difference for me. Uh, the no commercials, no frustrating. Like I don't even look at videos and look for the where the little dots are to figure out if I want to watch or not. I just put the video on and I've never heard a commercial. Um, don't have to wait. If it, let's say you're one of those people who likes to irritate your friends and go, hey, look at this video I just found. You don't have to wait for the skip ad thing to pop up. Just play it. It starts. Gary M. Howdy. Just went through the insurance non-payment with Mr. Cooper. One of my properties was left uninsured for days. Luckily, no issues. Mine too. What's the spinny dice thing? I will have to look it up and I will pin a comment after this video. So the spinny dice thing, each side has where the tooth goes to spin, and you can select 4-sided, 6-sided, 8-sided, 12-sided, 20-sided. I think I did the percentage. Yeah. No, there's a D30, D20, D30, D8. Yeah. There's different versions. Of course, I went like pewter metal covered in blood because I'm me. And we call my dice the dice of doom. So what's that? Oh, some new stuff on my shelf. And I'm like, how does this end up on your shelf? And you're like, yeah, apparently it's sharp too. It's the spinny dice thing. There will be a pinned comment with a link to it in Amazon where you can order it and have it come. It's for Dungeons and Dragons because I'm a nerd. I had the feds show up at my apartment complex to talk to one of my tenants while I was there today. This has been an odd year. Nice. Yeah, I haven't had the feds, I don't think. Fed Fish and Game, cops all the time. Uh, no feds. What? No, I had somebody here. Ah, yep. Cool. I'll give it a few more minutes to see if there's any other questions that pop up or something that I'm missing. If you are in the course, remember, Friday, 5 p.m., just in Canberra, we should be good. He's going to come over early and we're going to do food, go out and eat. You'll have to let me know, Julie, what were the feds there for? Did anything else happen? Andres, howdy. Do you think the government will take away Section 8? I am planning to buy a duplex with Section 8, but I am scared. No, one of the benefits to Doge is we're getting rid of fraud, waste, and abuse, which is going to leave more funding for things like Social Security, Section 8, benefits. Uh, we've had this same president in office before. We've had presidents from this party in office before. That ain't going anywhere. I would not be comfortable if 100% of my rentals were Section 8. So if I had one or two rentals, sure. As I'm growing my portfolio, it's harder to diversify. But I keep about one third Section 8, one third working or retired, one third military as a diversification strategy, which really started around 7 or 8 units. That's when I started paying attention to that. And leaking. Why is this in here? Why would you leave something sharp next to a drunk person? Oh, there's a lot of things to play with. Nice. Oh, there's a K-bar. No, focus. Uh, yeah, so no fears with Section 8. Confident that I ain't going anywhere. Uh, you, the goal of a political party is not to alienate their voting base. You would usually think that. Some party seems to be trying to do that. And taking away benefits is not that. Taking away benefits from people who aren't in the country legally to have more benefits for the people who actually live here, sure, ain't going anywhere. Harsh reality. This is not a political channel because I hate both. I could say one sentence before this video's up that irritates both sides. I think the problem is this is not vodka. That's why there's overshares. Uh, Harsh reality turned to fire. Would you overpay for a place because you want it, even if the numbers are a little off because of area, layout, and just the type you want to own? I want to make sure I don't have a sarcastic answer. Really think this through. Would I buy something is because something I really wanted and the numbers didn't work? So I saw a question the other day. I think it was in the BiggerPockets forum. Might have been in the Book of Faces. Might have been in the one rental at a time. It was in the one rental at a time community. Somebody asked, when you're buying your primary house, how do you know if it's a good deal or something like that? Memory's not clear right now. And my answer was, there is no math in your primary house, right? Can you afford the payment? Does it fit your budget? Sure. But we're not looking at yield. We're not looking at cash on cash return. So if you're buying a place to live, is it where you want to live? Does the property have the physical aspects that you want to live in? Take the math out. This is your house, right? A house is a liability. If you're going to own a liability, you should have assets pay for it. When I'm buying an asset, no, I don't think I'd buy a break even or a negative cash flow property if it just had all these other aspects. If it had the value add, I'm looking at a duplex. Um, so this closest I can come so far is I looked at a duplex. It was two bedrooms each side. Each side had a den. As a two bedroom, it got a decent return. It was around 10%. It wasn't a bad deal. There's a three bedroom each side. The mortgage is 1,300. Each side's rented out for 2,300 now. That place doesn't suck to own. But I didn't buy it, kick the tenants out, add three bedrooms. I purchased it. I wait for, no kidding, tenant to pass away. Then I add a third bedroom and rent that one out. Tenant to buy a house, then add a third bedroom, rent it out. Like that was it was a 5 or 6 year process to turn it into this amazing deal from a good deal. So I buy a good deal. So you'll hear, I don't know if you can tell, but I'm trying to keep my hand off my shirt so that my shirt stays white. Because the hell. Um, when you hear people like the lumberjack landlord or Michael Zuber or me talk who have reached financial freedom, made work optional, taken the step to walk away from jobs that were pretty decent, at least mine was at the end, uh, we can say things like, I'm only going to buy a great deal. I'm not going to buy an average deal. I'm not going to get a base hit. I want a great deal. When I was starting out, I didn't get one home run. No great deal right off the bat. They were just base hits. Then you add the years to maybe do the value add, to maybe refinance to a better rate, to use the binder strategy, to all of these things to turn into great deals over a long period of time. So if you're in the first 0 to 7 years, base hits are okay. Average deal, beat the average deal somehow, make it more property. Like if they're identical and the yields are the same, but this one has the aspects that you like I like fenced yards, washer dryer hookups, um, at least two bedrooms, if not more, then I'll pick that one over something else, even if the yield was the same. Uh, but no, I wouldn't buy break even or not good deal, hoping, because you don't want to get caught living on hopium for things to get better in the future. Angry capitalist. I'll have to go stalk the property this week. Thank you. At least they do have a privacy fence. Nice. There you go. Seems like Soft Sale has left the chat. Did I miss one getting banned? No. Vivek, if you're here, you won the audiobook from last week. Give him a couple days to message me or to leave a message on any video, Vivek, and I'll connect with you. No bad mojo. What do you think of the executive order signing today regarding lowering housing costs with effect and will affect investing? Good luck. The problem, I mean, I should make a standalone video on this. The problem isn't supply and the problem isn't demand. The problem is people are stupid. It's the wizard's first rule. People are stupid. Terry Goodkind, the Seeker series, Sword of Truth, 7 books to basically say people are stupid. It's the wizard's first rule. So if people go, well, we have a supply problem. There's not enough houses. Uh, there's all these lack of inventory. I'm just going to pick one little town, tiny little town, Gary, Indiana. There are 13,000 vacant houses. City had a program for a while where if a contractor purchased a house, they gave you one for free. Buy one, get one on houses. We don't have an inventory problem. We have a shortage of houses where people want to live. Then we don't have a price problem because prices are cheaper now than they were in 2000. And I can prove it. If you have a drink, take a drink, buckle up because you ain't gonna like this. In 2000, might have been 99, I purchased a house for about $100,000. It was actually 98,000. I wrapped up the loan into it, 102,000. So I purchased a house for $100,000. It's now worth $400,000. It's gone up in value 4 times. Wages from 2000 till now have not gone up 4 times. So the average person who doesn't think will say homes are now unaffordable. When I bought the house, it was on the outskirts of a town called Yelm, Washington. This is the town the Apache called the Boondocks. It was a 45-minute drive to a grocery store. It was over a 45-minute drive to a movie theater. There were no Lowe's, no Home Depot, no Walmarts. There was one blinking red light. There was a store called Jayhawks, which was kind of like a hardware store. Yeah, 45 minutes to the closest grocery store. Of course, it costs $100,000. Now it's 6 minutes from Walmart. There's a movie theater. There's the bowling alley. There's traffic lights. Like the high school and the middle school were completely rebuilt. Tons of funding for education. So yeah, a house in the town now, right next to a Walmart and a movie theater and a better school district is worth $400,000. Pick any spot in Washington, any spot. Drive 45 minutes from the closest grocery store. Houses are $100,000. And wages have gone up since 2000. Houses are cheaper now than they were. What we have is a shortage of houses where people want to live because that's the key that everybody misses. Where people want to live. Hopefully, I didn't irritate anybody with that because it always sucks. It's never a good time to buy. I can actually break down if you want to know, if you want to hear, let me know. I can break down the last 10 years why it's never been a good time to buy a property and why I bought properties every year, every other year for a while. No bad mojo. That's a good question. John, Dungeons and Dragons literally got me through my early teens. I have the first player's handbook, so that makes me old. I have the box sets, the red, the green, the art, and I was thinking of getting a tattoo of one of those if I can find somebody good enough to do it. So here's an overshare for you. Dungeons and Dragons got you through your teens. Now, in my teens, I was riding bronc, teaching martial arts. Like I had a pretty active life. So very little D&D. I enjoyed it. I read a lot of books, but there was little D&D. Then I joined the Marine Corps. And I get stationed in places like Okinawa, where you can only scuba dive so many times, and usually not on a work day, and Desert Storm, Desert Shield. Uh, Dungeons and Dragons got me through combat. They would literally imagine being in a combat zone. Scud missile warnings every few hours, digging foxholes. Can't sleep in them because of scorpions and the camel spiders. Can't sleep in the vehicle because you can't react to the Scud missile fast enough. But you go on a mic with all of the ranking officers that can hear and ask the question, are the dice rolling tonight? Because you play poker in the Marines, right? Until one person, Corporal King, has everybody's money. Then you can't play poker anymore. What are you going to do? You play D&D. Oh, you study your cue cards and you understand silhouette shapes for tanks and anti-aircraft things, and you do that, but that gets old after a while. Good times. I believe I'm all caught up on the videos. Thank everybody for staying for my one glass today. Horse Call Friday, a video coming out Thursday. She's not in the chat, but this video was actually for Michelle. She reached out because she's on the cusp of financial freedom. What gave you the confidence to retire? So I made the intro, and that will be a separate video that comes out. Always be careful with sharp things. Crystal can get almost one molecule thick. Pinhead. Oh, thanks. I've never shared that story before. It's weird. Wonder why. What got me to that story? I'm gonna have to watch this video myself. Brian, if you own a paid off rental, I have two. Uh, what would you recommend I do? Nothing, cash out refi, or HELOC and buy another. How do you think about tax implications? Thank you. Harsh reality turned into fire. Thank you. So don't let the tax tail wag the dog. I don't make decisions based on the taxes. I make sure to take the tax benefits of any decision I make. When it comes to equity, Brian, this is very important to me, and I say this to where it'll sound a little sarcastic because I've said it before. So in my head, I can't get the tone right. When it comes to equity, a lot of people start with, well, if you're going to take money out, what's the purpose? If you're going to buy an RV or a boat or something that's just for fun, not rented out, Don't do that. If you're going to take a vacation and pay for it with anything, don't do that. They say, but if you're going to buy a cash flowing asset, okay, now you would. So what's the purpose of the money you take out? That's the first question a lot of people start with. Then smart people go to the second question. Well, how do I take the money out? Right? If you have a paid off property, a cash out refinance gets you any of the equity with fixed rate debt and set interest rate, uh, a HELOC, home equity line of credit. You can take the money out as you pay it down. It's reusable. I would only do this if you could pay it off before the rate adjusts. Like there's all these things of how do I touch the equity? If you have a mortgage on there, then there's like an extra nuance to it. Let's say you have a $500,000 place, you owe $100,000. You could take out another mortgage for two or 300 as a second mortgage to leave the first one alone so you don't mess with the current interest rate. Like there's all that logic that goes into what am I going to do with it? How would I take it out? Right. I go to, I quote the Emperor's New Groove every now and then, right? There goes the squirrel, runs off with the groove. Uh, Cusco, the llama, said, no touchy. I have a paid off property. It was a mistake. It's cost me $1 million to pay it off. I don't add equity. I don't add debt because that's what equity is. It's not your money sitting there. It's you have the ability to add debt to an existing asset. It's not fun and it's not sexy. It's actually kind of boring, but I'm a fan of save a down payment, buy a property, save a down payment, buy a property. It's a 10-year journey. Can you get more properties sooner if you use equity? Yes, but you have thinner margins, more likelihood for it to blow up in your face, less cash flow. Now, if you're like Michael Zuber, Matt the Lumberjack Landlord, and Millennial Mike, you after 15 to 20 years, your portfolio will be significantly larger and your cash flow will be significantly larger. But for 10 years, if you want freedom in 10 years, it comes from not touching your equity, letting it grow, letting the cash flow increase without adding debt. So I've never done a HELOC, never done a cash out, never done a refinance to pull money out, never sold for 1031. My brothers used HELOCs. My brother used HELOCs over and over and over. He'd buy a property, pay it off, buy a property, pay it off, right? And he got 10, paid it off, retired. So it's possible to do that. He had spiky but bigger income than me. Zuber and Matt, Matt invested for 20 years. So he's got way more cash flow and way more properties. Yes. But at the 10-year mark, right about the time he was almost going bankrupt because he had almost all of his properties were rented out to construction workers and the 2008 housing crash hit and he went from 9 paying to 8 paying to 3 paying to 1 paying. If he was trying to retire at that point, I don't think it would have went too well. So Zuber, Matt, Mike, all smarter than me, all more successful than me. They have different goals. My goal isn't a big portfolio. I'm not even sure I want the size of the portfolio I have now. I'm probably going to buy because the money piles up. But my goal was the right amount of cash flow from the least amount of units. Three times speed is a bit rough at first. It's a new option. It wasn't there before. Yeah. You plus played 97, then you sold all the books. I still have the books, but I get rid of all of my novels and went to strictly Audible and Kindle. And I think I shocked a local bookstore by walking in with, I probably had 350 books. I just gave. I didn't want like credit or anything because I'm not buying books anymore. So I'm digital nomad. I want to be able to read or listen anywhere. I do have the gaming books though. Thank you, thank you. Nice. Three times speed is a bit rough. Rob. Rob is the winner. Actually, it goes to Rob if Vivek doesn't show up. But like I said, I'm gonna give him till tomorrow. So Vivek, if you watch this in Futureland, leave a comment on any video, but it'll probably go to Rob. Matthew, the town I live in has no traffic lights and a Dollar General. Average house price is 105,000. And remote work is an option, but more than anywhere ever in the past. Thank you, Matthew. Thanks, Brian. They have four times speed. I haven't seen that yet. Is there an option here? I see. Playback speed. I get up to two. Must be weird. Some setting in mine. John, yeah, D&D got us both through a really tough time. We can chat over a beverage in Vegas. Nice, hopefully. Thanks and have a great night. Thank you. Hope to see you there. Remember, if anybody's going to BPCon, there is a code Dion50 gets you $50 off your BPCon ticket on top of the early bird special discount. No bad mojo. What is their connection to Emperor's New Groove? Can a middle-aged person benefit from watching it? Um, so there's a magic trick pulled off in Emperor's New Groove that is why I really enjoy it. As a manager, I had to perform a lot of psychology tests on who to promote and who not to promote because generally you want sociopaths in leadership positions because you have to make calls based on facts, not emotions. So there were people who worked for me who never made it to a management because they weren't sociopath enough. But the Emperor's New Groove, here's the magic trick that it pulls off and why it's so first of all, it's funny, it's great. It's before they went woke, uh, and the wrong kind of woke, right? There's the good woke, then there's the woke that's too far. Like there's the good right, there's the right that's too far. There's a good left, this left is too far. So Vivek, you're in the chat. You won the book from last week. So thanks for showing up. Uh, there's a character in The Emperor's New Groove called Kronk, and he's a fan favorite amongst kids. He can talk to squirrels. He's kind of silly. He's the hero at some point. But the cartoon starts off where he is a murderer who is disposing of bodies and finds humor in all of it. So the magic trick that Disney pulled off is you can put a sociopath in the right situation and he becomes the hero so much that he got his own spin-off cartoon. There's a life lesson there. That's going to be next in line in case you hadn't shown up. Yep, Vivek. So email me and we will work out your audiobook. And the way the audiobook giveaways are is you can pick any book you want that's on Audible. I would like it to be finance related, or it can be one rental at a time or 15 conversations with real estate millionaires. But if you want a Dean Koontz book or a Jay Robinson book, sure, go for it. Nice. I haven't rented a movie on YouTube, but I know they're available. Still a charge with premium. Not sure if there's a discount. You get YouTube TV, which have to rent the movies. Yep. I don't know if Emperor's New Groove is here. Might be. If not, it's probably Disney. So being where it is, the stuff. What I always do is I always go to IMDb, type in whatever you're trying to look at, and it will tell you how you can stream it. And it's a long name before it shows up. Emperor's New Groove that came out in 2000. Uh, it's on Disney, or you can rent it on Prime Video for $3.99. So there are your options. All right. Vivek, make sure you message me. And no worries. That's cool. You guys all have a week full of amazing. I will see you next week when we do the live stream again at 4 o'clock. I do the live streams during the week, and sometimes I see questions. If you want your questions answered during a live stream, Tuesdays, 4 p.m. Pacific is when we do that. Ciao.